Mr. Maiga actually said some very, very important things. But first of all, you know, it was really, really taken to a different cloud by the Malians in diaspora. You know, let me tell you one truth here. If you want to know how good you are as a government, whatever country in Africa, the diasporans are the biggest verification you can get, because the diasporans have no need to praise you if you're not really working. But the way the diasporan actually welcomed and accepted the Malian, you know, minister, we actually could see that they are really, really doing a very fantastic job. They actually praised them to the point where it felt as if they were embarrassing him, you know, because I just think the man is a very, very quiet and decent man. So let's move forward. So we actually have a situation this week that actually backed up the statement of the Malian minister. You have to look at a video that actually got to us from our sources, from the independent intelligence community. This drone that you can see here, was a drone with a very huge payload of explosive that was brought down by, you know, the everly efficient Dozo militia. Now, the Dozo militia are some Malian pro-government forces that have actually dedicated their will to support the Malian government, because they feel like whatever they're fighting for has an existential benefit. So let's move forward. How did the Dozo militia actually brought down this drone? They were not the first to spot the drone. So the groups that were trying to cause this chaos actually deployed this huge drone. Now imagine the size of the drone, as you can see in the video, and now imagine the weight of the payload and the kilogram of explosive and how much damage this suicide drone could have caused. Now, it was spotted by some group of Malian assault team that were actually on an offensive mission to actually do some clear out in a particular region in Mali. So when they spotted this drone, the speed of the drone actually, you know, could not allow them to intercept the drone because the timing wasn't quick. So what they did was to call the Dozo militia that, look, there is something that is passing through your side. So I want you all, like, that was the instruction according to the local sources, that the information was passed to the Dozo militia that they should prepare. They don't know if it was coming for them or something else, but they should prepare. There was a drone en route. So the Dozo militia had the timing to prepare for the incoming, you know, payload that was en route via the route or to somewhere else. Like, we can't really ascertain where the drone was heading for. So now what the offensive Malian team actually did was, why they alerted the Dozo militia, they actually searched they launched a counter reconnaissance operation to search for the control units of that drone, which weren't far away. It was about 3 antagonistic elements that were launching this mission. So according to the information we had, they actually went directly, they spotted, luckily for them, they spotted the control units of that drone. They actually went there, but before they neutralized the elements that were involved in deploying that drone for the suicide mission, the Dozo militia already shot down this particular drone that you can see on your screen. And now when they shot down the drone, they were, luckily for them, the payload actually fell aside. It didn't explode because it did not hit with a narrow part of the explosive, so it fell aside. They were able to recover the explosive, and they, you know, if you look at the drone properly, you can see that the propellers actually broke. So that was from the cut shell that was actually shot at it, so which would spread with so many metallic slugs that actually brought down the drone, according to the statement of the Dozo militia. So what happened after is that the Malian assault team, you know, before they embarked on the mission, so they had to, you know, abort the mission they were initially going for, and, you know, they cleared these 3 elements that were actually in charge of this operation. And after clearing the elements, they were able to, you know, recover the piece that they use in controlling the drone and all of that, and, you know, the systems that they were using to do a lot of connection, everything was recovered as they were neutralized. So they did not proceed in informing us about how the operation, based on what they were initially going for. They did not really inform us about what really happened thereafter, but they actually took out this drone. Now this is where the words of Abdoulaye Maiga comes into play. Now Abdoulaye Maiga actually alleged that Ukraine has been transferring drones to the elements in Mali. Now we need to understand something. This happens, this whole fiasco, skirmish here and there, can be traced back to the infamous attack of the FLA group on the Russian and Malian troop, where it is something Russian were actually neutralized, and, you know, about 40 something Malian troops were actually neutralized, and Ukraine through their deep state actually claimed they took responsibility for the attack and all of that. So an event that actually led to the Ukrainian embassy completely getting shut down and Ukrainian diplomat getting sent out of Mali with immediate effect. And I think the AES state actually acted correspondingly. So there has been a sort of bitter relationship between the states, right, that has been involved in this. So we have to understand something. Why will Ukraine send these drones to the Sahel? Now we have to look at the interest of Ukraine. First of all, they have a very bad blood between the individual states altogether with Ukraine, based on the event after the Things Are Wanting attack. So, and more so, the FLA are the major group that has been allegedly, you know, involved with procurement of this drone from Ukraine. Now, the FLA have equally been working in close coordination with the JNIM. Reason being that the FLA group, they've actually been seriously demilitarized. They've actually made so many claims of human rights violation and all of that, but they've been significantly demilitarized. We've actually seen them call on FLA, you know, ethnic members, you know, which are majorly Tuaregs from Libya, to come and help. immediately these guys were coming, the Malian drones spot them, and most of these elements were neutralized. So the quick response team, if we are going to call it that way, the QRF that they were expecting from Libya, who did not bring the expected number, because the Malians actually countered the intelligence, and which led to the complete annihilation of this backup they were waiting for. So the FLA has been seriously suppressed based on the operations of the Malian military, and the Malians have actually created a lot of military base in the region of operation of the FLA, and the citizens are now going about their life, their daily activities in peace, because the FLA has really been crushed. To be honest with you, they are not really the so-called group, with a lot of activities. Again, now they leave covering the roof of their vehicle, and some of them even cover the entire vehicle with grasses, because once the Malians drone spot, already know what time it is. Like the last time they were caught, they were neutralized, their numbers right inside their convoy. So the only group that has been supporting, that has been creating this chaos, had been the JNIM. So, and most of the time, the deployment of drone warfare by these elements have actually been largely unsuccessful, because the Malian armed forces have actually proved that the FLA cannot really match the capabilities when it comes to their combat credibility, and they've actually proved on so many levels that even the JNIM on a day, not even on a good day, cannot really match the level of the Malians on the battlefield. So now Ukraine sending this drone to these people could be because of their belligerence, could be because of the diplomatic spat between both nations, could be because of the affiliation of the Russian with the Sahelian states, could be even a deeper interest than we know. And again, how did they even find out that this drone belonged to Ukraine? Ukraine now have drone production factories in Ukraine, and when you produce drones, what do you write? You imprint your trademark, made in Ukraine. So this particular drone you are seeing in the video, and this other black drone that you can see here, they are made in Ukraine drone. So even the tapes that were sent along and all of that, they were directly, you can see the color, you can see everything. So there are substantial evidences that have proved that, these things are being procured from Ukraine. Now, the reason why I further think that Ukraine might actually be selling this drone might be the fact that maybe they need more money, for maybe they've manufactured this drone in bulk, and they need money to maybe pay the family of the fallen soldiers that have actually fought for them and all of that, or maybe a situation where some of their leaderships are being corrupt, and they just feel like there is no way out of the Russian war. Maybe they feel like the end is very near, and they want to make enough money. They want to make the best amount of money they can make, so they don't really, the moral justification to take actions in certain ways might have been affected, so they just feel like we will sell these drones to whoever wants to buy the drone. Remember, they equally spoke about selling drones to Ghana and all of that. So I feel like they're very drone happy at this point. They want to make a lot of money. So, but this is a non-conventional warfare means. So at the end of the day, in my own opinion, I think it's been unsuccessful so far, most especially in the Sahel. So I see no reason why the FLA or the JNIM should continue to collaborate with Ukraine, in my own opinion, to source drone from Ukraine, because it has been unsuccessful. On this platform alone, we've posted more than 15 cases of drone warfare that actually failed. We can't count the number of drones we've seen being knocked down by the military. Now, we equally have to understand something here. at the end of the day, if you look at the war between Russia and Ukraine, this is what I really, really think. I think diplomacy cannot help at this point. There was a point where diplomacy could have helped, but I think at this point, both sides really, really feels the need to completely demilitarize or almost annihilate the military component or the military capability of both sides. I think if diplomacy prevail at this point, the Ukrainian side might have this beef that we want our revenge, we will get our get back. If diplomacy prevail, I don't think Russia will be comfortable with Ukraine being there, knowing that Ukraine have capabilities of, reinforcing, beefing up, like you have the Azov battalion and all of that has been in the build up for a long time. So that is why I think the threat is existential on both sides, and Russia wants to defeat Ukraine completely militarily. Ukraine believes that with the help of the West and the coalition of the willing, that they can win the war. But based on what we are seeing on the battlefield with the territorial gains of Russia, I think this war will not end even in Odessa. I think this war will not end. I think this war will end in Kiev, just where it all started. I think the war will end in Kiev. We actually know the war started in Donbass. It's been a long time ago, and it has also, the whole thing spiraled out of control with the coup d'etat on Viktor Yanukovych government, and which was a bloody coup as alleged. But I think at this point, if you look at the way Russia have now gotten to the central part of Kupiansk and they are completely battering Kupiansk to the ground, man, you have to see the image of what is going on in Kupiansk. So I feel like it has gotten to a point right now, based on the false flags, the provocation from Ukraine and every other thing, with the sabotage on the energy infrastructure, the Crimean bridge attack and all of that. So I feel like Russia actually feels like we cannot have this type of neighbor next to us. I think Ukraine is even more of a bigger threat to Russia at this point than, whoever is the enemy of Russia. I think Ukraine is more of a bigger threat to Russia. And I think no matter what anybody says, even no matter what Vladimir Putin himself says, I think at this point that this war has gotten to, I think the only way it ends is a military capitulation or an utter annihilation of the military component of Ukraine. I think that is where this war will end. I think this war will end in Kiev. Either Russia is seriously defeated in Kiev or Ukraine completely capitulates with severe demilitarization, which is going to affect them for a very long time. I think that is where this war is going to be decided. Anyone thinking diplomacy will prevail at this point, given the number of lives that, have been, that have been lost in this crisis, anyone still thinking diplomacy at this point? Diplomacy prevailing for Ukraine is like Ukraine giving up its sovereignty. So they need to fight. So Ukraine has actually said at first, even when diplomacy was still much an option, they actually said, you either defeat us or we defeat you. So ladies and gentlemen, I think the final battleground will be in Kiev. If Russia advances, they will continue to advance. Now, we don't know how long this war is going to last. But I can guarantee you, this war will end in Kiev. Now, if the Americans choose to intervene before the end of the war, we don't know to what capacity. Now, we see Zelensky demanding for Tomahawk missile and all of that. But we will see how it goes. We will see how it goes. But for me, I think the complaints of the AES diplomats at the AES ministers at the United Nations General Assembly, in New York was actually a valid one, because evidences are out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? How do you think the United Nations or the international community, even you that you are listening to me, how do you think the world can contribute to stopping this effort by some non-state actor to continue to destabilize the Sahel? How do you think you as an individual can contribute to this? And to what extent have you been able to speak against these things? My own contribution is not enough. Your own contribution is not enough. So we all can work together to continue to spread this information about what is going on, and we continue to create awareness about it until it reaches the appropriate quarters. Thank you. You can equally drop your opinion in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and God bless you.